My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This is More Money with economist Steve Moore. Now, Steve Moore.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show on WABC. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. We are in the silly season now. We're, what are we, about 10 or 11 days away from the most important election, probably since 1980 when Reagan beat Jimmy Carter. And this is a hugely important one. And you can't be a pacifist in this one. You can't be not involved. You have to choose sides. You have to go out and vote. You have to be active in this. I don't want people sitting on their hands. And neither does my next guest, Alfredo Ortiz, who runs the wonderful Job Creators Network and has a powerful voice with small business and also is one of the leading Hispanic voices. By the way, Alfredo, I've known you a long time. What is your heritage? Where did your parents come from?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Thanks for having me, of course. My parents are from Mexico. And they actually
both your mom and dad from Mexico.
Both my mom and my dad. My mom was a housekeeper. My dad was a tailor. They came to the U.S. legally. I just want to make sure.
When was that?
Oh my gosh, boy, we're talking 60 years ago.
Okay. Oh wow.
Wow. I mean, 55, 60 years ago. Both of my parents have already passed, but you know, it was just wonderful. And I am proud to say that my mother became a full-fledged American citizen at 55, became a Republican,
that's fantastic.
And voted Republican till the very day she died.
Wow. So that's an amazing. Now, are you bilingual?
Yes, I am. Yes. I speak Chinese
I'm glad
and
to hear
English.
that because I think you told me that one of the things you're doing among many, I mean, you guys are warriors in this fight for the soul of America. I really believe that is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said you are running ads for Trump in Spanish. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kicked off at the beginning of the year something called the Hispanic Vote Coalition, a couple other great partners that are part of this. But, you know, Bernie Marcus, the great Bernie Marcus, who founded Job Creators Network, really had the foresight years ago to really hit on the theme of economic prosperity with Hispanics. And at the beginning of this year, he helped us try to be able to fund specific efforts for this election on the Hispanic voter. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we focus on the swing counties within the swing states. So, for example, out in Arizona is Maricopa, in Pennsylvania, Harris County, it's Clark County in Nevada, for example. And we've been hitting that message of economic prosperity for Trump and economic misery under Biden in Spanish ads, especially on radio, which is pretty much where most Hispanics get their information on, or they spend most of their time is listening to Spanish radio. We've been doing that since February, Steve.
So how do you think, you know, I'm looking at some of these polls and you never know what to believe because the polls are all over the place. And but, you know, what I'm seeing from some of these polls is that Trump is doing pretty well with Hispanics this time around, and that the Hispanic, especially, you know, first and second generation immigrants like the Donald Trump message of hope and opportunity and job creation and American energy independence. Are you seeing that in your travels?
Yeah, absolutely. The Suffolk poll, USA Today poll that came out just the other day, in fact, had Donald Trump, are you sitting down? Had him at 49%.
Wow.
Versus 38% for Kamala. And I have to tell you, Steve, I'm actually not surprised. At the beginning of this year, because remember, Trump had 36% last time around. And when I went on air for interviews at the beginning of this year, I said, I think Trump, with the right message, can be up to the 48 or 49%. See, people thought I had 10 heads when I was saying that.
Right.
So look at that. You know, we're there. And I actually truly believe when it's all said and done, he will be at the 50, 51% mark. Because here's why. first of all, the message that he has of economic opportunity focused on education, free universal education and school choice, crime and safety, all that is so meaningful. Faith, family, entrepreneurship, all that is so meaningful to the Hispanic voter, to the Hispanic community. But I'll tell you what really is also impactful that President Trump got right is the focus on the open border and immigration. And in particular, because Trump talks about the criminality that's coming through that porous border, whether it's gun trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking, right? Guess where it's landing? It's not landing in the lily white communities. It's landing in the communities that Hispanics live in day in and day out.
They're the victims.
In schools, et cetera. Yeah. They're the victims. They want it to stop. So when Donald Trump's hitting about, we got to close up this porous border and get those criminals out of your communities and send them back, that is meaningful. It's not about open borders like the Democrats believe.
I think you're exactly right. I know, when I meet Hispanics all the time, and, whether they're service workers or they're people in business or entrepreneurs, a lot of times I just ask them, hey, what do you think about Donald Trump? And they don't, most of them don't know who I am, and they go, thumbs up. I like Donald Trump. I mean, I think he shares their values of free enterprise and work hard and you get ahead. I mean, there's no harder working group of people than the Hispanics. And so and by the way, I remember, back in the Reagan and Bush era of the Republican Party, we used to say, Alfredo, that if we could get 40% of the Hispanic vote, that would be amazing, because usually back then it was like 33% of the Hispanic vote. Yep. And if you're right, if we're anywhere near 45 to 50%, it's game over.
It is absolutely game over. And that was my prediction, that at 48%, it's absolutely game over with the, for this whole particular election. And so remember that the high mark was actually George Bush at 36%. 38%. Donald Trump came in at 36%. But I knew with the message that he had of economic prosperity and the way we're communicating that, we could win the hearts and minds of the Hispanic community and the Hispanic voter. And based on this latest Suffolk USA Today poll, Steve, we're there. We just have to continue delivering that message from between now and voting day.
So great analysis. And so now we've only got about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I wanted to switch directions if I could. I'm talking to the great Alfredo Ortiz, who runs the Job Creators Network. Is part of the Trump team. By the way, I think you and I were talking offline the other day. I'm going to Madison Square Garden on Sunday. Are you going to be there?
I sure am. I plan to be there, and I think a bunch of our friends are going to be up there. So I hope to see you there. We got to make sure we hit some dinner while we're out there together.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be a very festive occasion, and I hope a lot of our audience heads out for that. If you have a ticket, I heard that tickets are very hard to come by. They've filled up Madison Square Garden, and I heard somebody say they could fill up Madison Square Garden 3 or 4 times with the number of people who want to see Trump, and he's become like one of the Beatles.
Donald Trump is a Taylor Swift of politics,
That's so true. All right. We got a couple minutes left. I wanted to ask you, your other area of expertise, obviously, is with small businessmen and women. Where are they? What do they want? What are they? They are not happy, right? I mean, I look at these approval ratings for the politicians among small businessmen and women. They seem like they're stressed out.
They are 100% stressed out. Inflation has been horrible for them on 2 fronts, not only from the kind of the input of their cost, right, for running their businesses, but also the negative impact inflation has had on their customers, right, and their inability to buy, let's say, or go out to the restaurants many times or buy as many goods, right, as they used to before. And so they're going to hit double whammy. And in fact, we did a national poll. We conduct what's called the Small Business IQ poll, conducted by the great Scott Rasmussen and John McLaughlin. And that came back. You're going to love this, Steve. The small business owners prefer Trump to Kamala Harris by 12 points. So the majority of small business owners prefer Trump as their president.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not even bigger than that because Biden has sort of declared war on small business. Last question on the way out for you, Alfredo, is it's a question that I always get asked from our listeners because they don't really, they're curious about this because they hear it all the time. Are small businesses price gouging? Is that why we have high prices?
Yeah, no. They're barely surviving, let alone price gouging.
Right.
Look,
right.
Steve, as you know, the problem is that all of their inputs of goods and services have gone up. And let's be honest, the reason why was that fateful decision, day one decision of President Joe Biden of canceling the Keystone XL pipeline and declaring war on domestic energy production.
I think you're exactly right. And I'm not surprised that these small businessmen and women are really looking for change because it's been a tough period for them, as it has all consumers and so many Americans. Alfredo, great job. I'm looking forward to hooking up with you on Sunday at Madison Square Garden to see the great Donald Trump. And folks, we will be right back. This is the More Money Show on WABC.